You can obtain nirvana now. This is not a trick. It is possible. You can obtain liberation now and thus nirvana. All in this time frame. If you do what Buddha said and become skeptical of Buddha and his teachings and put them to the test also, but become skeptical still, because Buddha is not a god. It is so important to recognize this. Buddha used his wisdom to heal people. There is ever still more wisdom out there, though. And so, in attaining enlightenment, I want to give this gift to you. If you question my teachings, that is okay. Just like Buddha, you may question my teachings, but at least put them to the test. This is a one-day test. 4 days in, nirvana attained. Because in searching the corners of the soul, I realized that we had the noble truths flipped around. Buddha attained nirvana on the third meditation, the third noble truth, 49 days of fasting under the Bodhi tree. After lamenting the first noble truth, after suffering, and recognizing and understanding causal chains. Causal change is a small truth to understand everything has a cause. One facet of desire, the second noble truth, I would put as the first noble truth, suffering as the second noble truth. It's so important to think of it this way. For this reason alone, you can switch it back around if you wish. The first noble truth is that beings suffer as a result of thirst. Suffering is everywhere. Dukkha is everywhere. The second noble truth is it is a result of desire and or attachment to desire, depending on which way you learned. The third noble truth is you can attain liberation through nirvana. But you can actually retain liberation before nirvana, but that nirvana is actually enlightenment. Liberation is understanding and detaching from desire. This is why the terms change later on, the key terms for the difference between enlightenment and liberation. There's more depth in enlightenment. But no, not depth, is what might be said, except in desire. There is a great deal of depth if you understand the root. One might say, well, the root of suffering is desire, and it's an endless causal chain of desires. But there is a root to desire, and I bet it was too disturbing to be said. But when you understand it completely, it is not disturbing, just as all the other noble truths. One component of nirvana and of the fourth noble truth one component of relieving yourself from suffering. For example, and dealing with desire. Example, like how do you go about cleaning your room if you need to want to do so? And most answer not by wanting, but by presentness. That's how you deal with desire. You deal with it by no expectations. If you understand the root of desire, it will give you great joy, though. If you understand the root of desire, it will give you great joy and bring you into nirvana, because the actual root, this translates to all beings. This is why all beings are capable of love and compassion. All beings truly want love and compassion. This is going to break. It's a paradigm shift. So bear with me. I was going to say break your mind, but that's not correct. I want to be correct. Take any facet of desire and study its causal chain down to its source. And you'll find its causal chain gets more and more noble. And don't think these things are separate. Remember, nothing is separate. Everything is one. Or emptiness. Or all. Either way, emptiness brings out all brings out emptiness. It's all one. I will give you an example. A famous person not a famous person. A person who desires to be famous suffers as a result of not being famous. But why do they then desire to be famous? And it's not because of their attachment to desire. Their suffering is as a result of their attachment to the desire to be famous and not attaining being famous. The reason why they desire to be famous is because they desire to be heard. Or they desire to be immortal. There's several links in this chain. Let's pick one of the two. The desire to be heard. The reason they desire to be heard is because they desire to speak the truth, or because they desire wisdom, or because they feel alone and they desire love. Notice how that's changed. The nasty desire of being famous is now a noble desire of love, or a noble desire of wisdom. In the root construction, all the way through the chain of the desire to be famous. Now, why do they desire to love or be loved? Because they have compassion for themselves and they have compassion for others. We do not desire compassion. We retain compassion. When that compassion is not met with compassion, we suffer. The ultimate root of suffering is not reciprocating the compassion. The nirvana is being in the compassion. The wisdom of the Eight Noble Path is compassion. I say this as an enlightened one. I say this with great care and not ego. I say this because I don't want to be worshipped. Your desire is not a sin. Eventually, it's a reflection of who you truly are. And at the very bare bones, you are love and compassion. That is what you are. And since everybody is love and compassion, we are all one. What is my first awakening? What is the realization of this? Love. Which is the trope of all these religions, just so happens to be. But it is found out to be true in studying a noble truth at its depth, which we were told. Ignore that. Because you don't need meditation, even though I mindfully meditate, to achieve liberation. You need meditation. To stay in nirvana, you need meditation. To be enlightened, to retain the wisdom because of mindfulness, mindful meditation, walking meditation, however you meditate. Because going about this aimlessly will lead you to a lack of compassion. A lack of compassion will lead you to nihilism. How do I know about nihilism? Because I have gone through the tree of death. And I survived. Very few can say they have overcome the tree of death from an alchemical perspective. I left alchemy for Buddhism, and I'm going to stay on the path in Buddhism. However, so slightly, my own path, which was tremendous, had also tremendous sufferings. Not the worst. Definitely not in human history. But I obtained a wealth of knowledge, not necessarily wisdom, knowledge. While I keep consuming knowledge in different religions, knowledge in philosophy, knowledge in debating as a skeptic, debating as a faithful man, debating as a pantheist, trying to find a view that more accurately described the universe, and awakening to something similar to Buddhism, which drew me to the teachings of Buddha. This tiny awakening that I had, that everything is one in alchemy, that I had before that everything is united in pantheism. Everything is one in pantheism. United through space-time, united through the fundamentals, the fabrics of the universe, united through karma, united through quantum mechanics, not mechanics, the physics, but quantum fluctuation waves, ultimately united through energy, a reflection of reality, united for compassion, is united. Separation may be painful. And so you can find your liberation from suffering. Your liberation from suffering is your liberation from desire. Your liberation from desire is understanding the root of desire as well. Eventually, though it is craving, though it's attachment to craving, it is compassion, which will give you the ability to forgive yourself from doing all these selfish deeds. Having compassion for yourself is not selfish. Having compassion for others is not selfish. Wanting to raise money, make money to help others, and then being compiled with the worries of money, etc. The initial wanting to raise money to help others. For example, I want to be a billionaire to treat the poor or something, to be generous or something. Ultimately, in the beginning, it was compassion for the poor. It just led to you being selfish, because along the lines you were like, how much money is enough money? You couldn't figure that out. You should have figured that out before you began that quest. And you shouldn't expect it to bring you happiness, because your happiness is in the effort.